The morning was painted with pale shades of gold, a fragile light that barely warmed the hospital's white corridors. Outside, the city was still half asleep, wrapped in the hum of early traffic and the distant echo of life beginning again. Inside, Daniel paced the hallway, clutching a paper cup of cold coffee that had long lost its comfort. His hands trembled slightly, not from the caffeine but from the storm inside him. It wasn't fear, not entirely. It was something heavier, something that came when a man was about to face a love so big it threatened to shatter the world he knew. He had waited for this day for months, ever since Mia told him on a rainy evening that they were going to have a baby. She'd whispered it with tears in her eyes and laughter in her voice, and he had held her close, feeling as though life itself had just changed direction. They had dreamed together, of nursery colors, bedtime stories, and tiny hands gripping their fingers. They'd made lists, argued over names, and imagined the future in bright, hopeful tones. But now, standing in that hospital hallway, Daniel felt something else creeping in, a chill that whispered that not all dreams survive the crossing into reality. The nurse appeared from behind the double doors. Her face was kind, but her eyes carried the tired weight of someone who had seen too much. "Mr. Carter," she said softly, "the doctor will be with you soon." Daniel nodded, his voice caught in his throat. Is everything okay?" She hesitated for half a heartbeat before smiling, the kind of smile that tried to cover worry. "They're doing everything they can. Just hold on, sir." Those words, "doing everything they can," echoed through his chest like thunder in a canyon. He sat down, elbows on his knees, hands pressed against his forehead. The hallway clock ticked louder than his heartbeat. The coffee went untouched. Around him, families came and went, some laughing, some crying, some whispering in relief. Time was elastic, bending and stretching cruelly, refusing to move when he begged it to. Finally, the doors opened again. This time, it was Dr. Wallace. Daniel stood up so quickly the chair scraped against the floor. The doctor was calm, too calm, and that frightened him more than any words could. "Daniel," he began carefully, "your wife is stable for now, but there were complications during the delivery." The words dropped like stones. "Complications?" Daniel repeated. "What do you mean? Is the baby—" Dr. Wallace took a slow breath. "Your son is alive, but he's very weak. He's in the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. He was born much earlier than we expected, and his lungs are struggling. We're doing everything we can for him." Daniel's knees went weak. He gripped the back of the chair to keep from falling. Alive. That word was both a promise and a wound. "Can I see him?" he asked. The doctor nodded. "Yes, but only for a few minutes." They walked together through a maze of white corridors that smelled faintly of antiseptic and quiet desperation. When Daniel entered the NICU, his breath caught. The room was filled with machines that beeped and blinked like small mechanical hearts. Inside one of the incubators lay a baby, his baby, tiny and fragile, wires attached to his chest, a small mask over his face to help him breathe. He looked impossibly small, like something not yet finished, and yet Daniel could feel his entire world spinning around that tiny figure. He placed his hand gently against the incubator's glass. "Hey, little one," he whispered, voice cracking. "It's Dad. You made it. You really made it." His eyes filled with tears that refused to fall. He didn't know what else to say. There were no words for moments like these, only love, raw and aching, suspended in silence. Mia was resting in another room. When he went to her side, she was pale and exhausted but awake. Her eyes searched his for answers she was too afraid to ask. "Is he okay?" she whispered. Daniel took her hand, kissed her forehead, and forced a smile. "He's fighting," he said softly. "He's strong, just like his mother." She nodded weakly, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I want to see him." "Tomorrow," he promised. They'll let you tomorrow. But that night, Daniel didn't sleep. He sat beside the NICU window, watching his son fight for each breath. Nurses moved quietly around him, adjusting monitors, whispering encouragement. Every beep became a heartbeat in his mind, every movement a prayer. He thought about all the things he had wanted to teach his son: the sound of the ocean, the smell of rain, how to build something with his own hands. But right now, the only thing that mattered was that he kept breathing. Hours turned into days. The baby's condition shifted like the wind, one moment steady, the next fragile. Daniel was there for every heartbeat, every sigh, every small victory. He learned the rhythm of the machines, the language of nurses' eyes, the weight of hope that hung between every breath. Mia recovered slowly, and when she finally held their baby for the first time, she broke into tears so deep and pure that even the nurses stepped back in silence. They named him Eli. It meant ascended, uplifted, a name that carried both prayer and promise. Eli became the center of their world, the fragile thread that kept them from unraveling. Daniel spent nights reading to him, stories of forests and stars, as if his words could teach Eli how to live. He spoke softly, his voice trembling with love. "You're stronger than you know, little one. You've already changed everything." But there were moments when darkness tried to return. One morning, the doctor came in with a grave look. "Eli's lungs aren't improving as fast as we hoped," he said. "We'll keep trying, but you should prepare yourselves." The sentence cut through Daniel like glass. Prepare themselves? For what? For goodbye? For a life that had barely begun? He couldn't accept it. That night, he went home for the first time in weeks. He walked into the nursery they had built together. The pale blue walls, the crib, the mobile hanging from the ceiling that Mia had painted herself. Everything smelled like hope. He sat in the rocking chair, the one he'd assembled late one night, and he wept, quietly, completely, without shame. He begged whatever higher power was listening. Please, just let him stay. The next morning, when he returned to the hospital, something had changed. The nurse met him at the door with a small, tired smile. "He's still fighting," she said. "You should go see him." Daniel rushed inside. The monitors still hummed, but this time the numbers on the screen were better. The doctor came in moments later, surprised but hopeful. "It seems he's responding," Dr. Wallace said. "It's early, but it's a good sign." Daniel laughed, a sound broken by disbelief. He pressed his forehead against the glass of the incubator and whispered, "You did it, Eli. You're a miracle. You know that?" From that day, progress came slowly, like dawn breaking through fog. Each breath grew stronger, each cry louder. Weeks later, the tubes came off, one by one. Mia could finally hold him without wires between them. Daniel would stand there, watching them together, and something in him healed that he didn't even know was broken. When the day finally came to bring Eli home, the hospital staff gathered to say goodbye. Even the nurses who tried to remain professional had tears in their eyes. Daniel carried his son out into the sunlight, the same light that had watched him pace those hallways weeks before. But this time, the warmth reached all the way through him. At home, the house that once felt too quiet now pulsed with life. The nursery was no longer a room of dreams deferred, but of dreams fulfilled. Late at night, Daniel would wake up just to watch Eli sleep. Every soft breath was a reminder that miracles did not always arrive with thunder and lightning. They came quietly, wrapped in struggle and faith. Months later, on a crisp spring morning, Daniel and Mia took Eli to the park for the first time. The sky was a perfect blue, the air smelling of new beginnings. They sat beneath a tree, watching their son's eyes widen at the world around him. Birds sang overhead, and Daniel felt something rise within him, a peace that had been waiting all along. He looked at Mia and said, Do you realize we almost lost all this? She smiled, squeezing his hand. Maybe that's why it means so much. He nodded, his throat tight with emotion. I used to think strength meant never breaking, but now I think it means breaking and finding your way back again. As the afternoon sun poured over them, Eli reached out, clutching Daniel's finger with surprising force. Daniel laughed softly, tears glistening in his eyes. He knew in that instant that the world had changed forever. Every pain, every sleepless night, every moment of fear had led to this, a tiny heartbeat that had taught him the true meaning of hope. Life had broken them open, yes, but in doing so, it had made room for something far greater, something that could heal, something that could begin again. And as Daniel held his son close, whispering promises to the wind, he realized that sometimes the most beautiful beginnings are born from the moments that almost ended us.